before? And if you have, do you love it as much as I do? I've never seen the original series of Star Trek. I'm a TNG man. I'm TNG all the way. I've seen every episode all the way through. I introduced my girlfriend to Next Generation, and she's mad about it as well now, or, you know, at least has the decency to pretend to be. And I've seen the TNG movies too, which, to be honest, I enjoyed them more than probably anyone should have done. Gathius asks, is that the Necronomicon on the shelf behind you? Yes, it is. So then I did a video called What Happens in a Philosopher's Brain, and we talked about System 1 and System 2 and different ways of thinking, some faster ways and some slower ways. And Bridget Hansen says, this explains how people can be easily brainwashed and why people base a lot of their opinions on emotions instead of rationality. I just wanted to say, you might need to be a little bit careful there, because when Daniel Kahneman, the thinker we were talking about, describes System 1 and System 2, he's not talking about emotions versus rationality. That's a very old dichotomy. It goes back even all the way to Stoicism, and it's that dichotomy's been used to silence a lot of people and do a lot of sexist damage as well. So emotions and rationality are not necessarily opposed. You can be angry and passionate and still perfectly rational, or like that politician that I mentioned, you can be not at all rational and have your argument completely based on emotions, or sometimes you might be overly rational and neglect an emotional dimension of something. So I don't think they're necessarily opposed. There were a few people who had an absolutely fascinating discussion in the comments of that video about democracy and how we can really design a democracy and have a functioning one that works well when we know that the brain can be so easily fooled by this. Giffiker said, this is like a system based around people voting with their biases and their lack of knowledges. You don't have economists voting on economic issues, farmers voting on farming issues, lawyers voting on lawyer issues, and so that you get people who don't know what they're talking about voting, essentially. And that's an interesting way of looking at it. And I think Pharaoh, who replied to your comment, had an interesting comeback as well. They said, well, who checks if those experts are doing their job well? And how are you going to define who an expert is? And that's the kicker, isn't it? Because you can never be politically neutral. Like, if you asked me, Ollie, I want you to put together a panel of philosophers who are going to advise the government. I'm quite a left-wing guy, so obviously I'm biased. Everyone is biased in some ways, so I'm going to put together a lot of left-wing philosophers. And also, even if you try and be, like, if you use the computer or something, if you were to select a group of philosophy professors to advise the government on, say, moral matters, you would have very few black and minority ethnic people on that committee, just because there are so few black and minority ethnic philosophers in the UK. And Oren Ashkenazi said that there's no real way of escaping the problems that what we talked about throughout for democracy is like, yeah, it's a big problem. Like, human brains are flawed things, and so if you ask people to make big important decisions, they're going to be vulnerable to that kind of to those kinds of mistakes. But I mean, one of the things that you could try and do is try educating people. I guess that's always helpful. And I guess diversity as well. We talked about different types of people having different biases and blind spots. So I guess coming together and educating people and making it a diverse education might be a way of improving things, although not necessarily a way out. I guess there's no way out of the problems with your own brain. Max Hangs Out says, I stayed here after discovering you were an atheist. I stayed here after discovering you were a leftist radical. But if you defend Dragon Ball GT, there's only so much I can take. Fair enough, I can't blame you, to be honest. My defense of Dragon Ball GT is far and away the most controversial thing I've said on this channel. That's fair enough. I'm with you on that one, fine. Those are all the comments I've got time to look at. Hey, this is the final video I'm going to film in this set, in this house. I'm moving to London on Monday. This is the last video I'm going to be filming here. I've built up quite a backlog from filming here, so you will see a lot more in this location, but chronologically, yeah, this is the last one, so sad times, I guess, moving to a new set. I'll have to build a new set. I'll let you know what it looks like, and thank you very much to all the fans who've been crowdfunding me and enabling me to get this new flat. Thanks especially to all the names you can see here who've been my big supporters this month. If you can't make a regular donation at Patreon, I now have a tip jar at paypal.me/philosophytube. So think of that like me putting a hat round at the end of a lecture, like anything you can chuck in that, some loose change or whatever would be really, really useful. Don't forget to subscribe as well. YouTube tells me like half of the people who watch the show aren't subscribed, and I'm like, why? So Patreon or PayPal if you really want to help me out, and I will see you in the next comment reply video in my new flat. See you then. Bye.